It's amazing how sometimes, even in the most well-known stories, uh, you discover these little details in the very beginning
Right.
that, like, totally change how you see the whole thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So today you guys wanted to, like, really get a grasp on the early life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Okay.
So we've got some, like, incredibly rich accounts and traditions, and we're going to dive deep into those remarkable
Yeah.
childhood years, from
Yeah.
his very first moments to, like, all the way through the passing of his mother.
I think what's really insightful right from the start is like grasping that world, the
Yeah.
world into which he was born, and particularly some of the cultural practices in Mecca at that time.
Yeah.
And one of the customs that, might seem a bit unusual to us today was the tradition of sending newborns
Right.
to live in the surrounding villages.
It wasn't just like a quaint tradition, though, was it? I mean, like, it served some, like, really crucial purposes for the kids. Like, just think about the environment. Like, the air in the villages was much cleaner and fresher
Right.
than the hustle and bustle of Mecca.
Sure.
And the physical landscape with all the, like, open spaces and hills encouraged infants to move and grow strong.
Yeah.
But probably most importantly for their future development was the language, making sure they learned to speak this pure, unadulterated Arabic,
Oh, yeah.
which was a huge point of pride for the Arabs.
For sure.
Yeah, so it was serious business.
Yeah.
So now, in the year that the prophet was born, there was a group of 10 women from the village of Bani Saad,
Okay.
and they embarked on their journey to Mecca to specifically find infants that they could nurse.
Hmm.
And among them was a woman named Halima Saadia, and her story is especially, like, compelling.
Right.
So Halima's journey to Mecca was not easy at all.
Right.
Imagine this, like, a year of famine had struck their land.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so her husband Abu Kapsha and their own baby were traveling with this, like, ancient she-camel practically on his last legs and a weak donkey that, like, struggled under any weight.
Oh, my goodness.
And to top it all off, the other women in their group, like, got so fed up with their slow pace that they actually left Halima and her family behind.
Really?
Yeah, so, they're arriving in Mecca late after spending a hungry night in the desert.
Wow.
And then, to add insult to injury, they find out that, like, all the children from the wealthy families,
Oh, no.
the ones who could offer, the best rewards, gifts and stuff,
Right.
they were all taken by the other women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Halima and Abu Kabsha are feeling pretty discouraged at this point.
Yeah.
So they ask around, are there any infants left?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they're told about this orphan baby named Muhammad.
Oh.
And the implication was clear, his father had already passed away.
Right.
So there wouldn't be much, financial help or gifts or anything like that coming from his mother, Amina.
So basically all the other women passed on him because of that.
Yeah, it seems like some of the other women from Bani Saad actually straight up declined to take him for that reason.
Oh, that's
kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. Yeah, so facing the prospect of going back to her village empty-handed after this whole ordeal,
Right.
Halima makes a decision.
Okay.
Maybe it was, just not wanting to be totally defeated.
Yeah.
But she decides to just go to Amina's house
Okay.
and offer to take the orphaned Muhammad.
Hmm.
And her hope was that maybe, they'd get like a small advance, just enough to buy some food,
Yeah, just something.
Yeah,
Just to get by.
exactly.
Right.
But here's where things take a really unexpected turn.
Okay.
When she meets Amina, she's not met with, sadness or like a sense of obligation. Instead, Halima's greeted with this like warmth and genuine kindness.
Really?
And the initial payment she gets is like surprisingly generous.
Wow.
But the truly profound impact comes when she holds baby Muhammad for the first time.
I can only imagine.
Right.
So what was that like? Well, Halima describes this really vivid sensory experience.
Like,
He was wrapped in white cloth, and this, like, really unusual and beautiful fragrance just emanated from him. He was asleep, and as she gently places her hand on his chest, he wakes up and smiles at her. And that smile, like a simple, heartwarming smile, really had a deep effect on her.
It's just amazing how these human connections can be so powerful.
Yeah, I know, right?
It sounds like that moment really forged like an instant bond between them.
Yeah, even though her initial reasons for taking him were, kind of practical, like because of the famine,
Right.
but that moment really seems to have created a connection that went way beyond that.
Yeah, I can see that.
So as they leave Mecca, the blessings for Halima and her family start appearing almost right away.
Oh, wow.
Remember that weak donkey that could barely keep up?
Right, yeah.
On the way back to Bani Saad with baby Muhammad, it suddenly becomes so strong and fast that it like leaves all the other younger donkeys in the caravan behind.
Okay.
I know, it's like one of those things that makes you stop and think.
It really makes you wonder what the people around him were picking up on. You know?
Yeah, like what did they sense?
Exactly.
And the wonders didn't stop there back home. Their old she-camel that they thought was way past giving milk suddenly stands up, ready to be milked.
What?
And miraculously produces a ton of milk.
No way.
I know, right?
Wow.
It's crazy. And Halima's husband, Abu Kabsha, he recognized these events for what they were.
Yeah.
Blessings that were directly linked to this child.
It's so interesting how these blessings weren't seen as just like good luck, but like direct signs connected to Muhammad's presence.
Yeah, it really shaped how the people around him viewed him, right?
Exactly.
And these blessings continued throughout the 2 years Muhammad stayed with Halima.
Really?
She talks about how he never soiled their bedding, which is like unusual for babies.
Yeah, that is unusual.
And his growth was like super fast.
Oh, wow.
At 1 year old, he looked like a 2-year-old.
Really?
Yeah, and even their livestock flourished.
Get out.
I know, right?
That's amazing.
They went from having just a few goats to like a whole field full of them, over 300.
Wow.
Yeah, people in the area started noticing, and they would try to graze their goats in the same spots as Halima's, but their goat herd observed something really strange.
What was that?
Their goats seemed to be getting fed like right from the ground.
What?
They never even had to lift their heads to look for those little bits of vegetation.
That's wild.
I know. It's like they were being nourished directly from the earth.
Oh.
And Halima herself said that they went from being some of the poorest people in the community to the wealthiest, all within a few months.
It's like a total turnaround.
Totally, yeah.
It's like their lives were completely transformed.
Exactly. And you can really see how this time of abundance was just like intertwined with Muhammad being there.
So when it was time to bring Muhammad back to Mecca after 2 years, I bet Halima was pretty heartbroken.
Oh, she was incredibly reluctant.
Yeah.
She had grown so attached to him.
Right.
And it was obvious that his presence had brought so much good fortune to her whole family.
I can only imagine.
But of course, she knew it couldn't last forever.
Yeah.
And when she did take him back to Mecca, she found out that there was an epidemic spreading through the city.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And this actually gave her like a little bit of hope.
Really? How so?
Well, she asked Amina if she could take Muhammad back to the healthier environment of Bani Saad for a bit longer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So did Amina agree?
She did. Amina, seeing how much Halima truly cared for her son and probably worried about the dangers of the epidemic in Mecca, agreed to let him go back with Halima.
So Muhammad returned to the village where Halima had 4 other children, Abdullah, Hudafa, Unisa, and Shima.
Right. So these were his foster siblings who were a part of his life during this time.
That's so interesting.
Now, during this second stay in Bani Saad, some really remarkable and honestly sometimes kind of scary events started happening.
Oh, really? Like what?
Okay. So one day, Muhammad's sister, Shima, she's out with him, and she says that she's not feeling hot because a cloud has been shading them the whole time.
What?
Yeah. And Halima looks up, and there it is, a dark cloud right above them, providing shade just for the children.
No way.
I know, it's like something out of a movie, right?
Yeah.
And this made her even more protective of Muhammad. You know,
Of course.
it's like, whoa, something's going on here.
It's like a sign.
Exactly.
Wow. So there were other times when people noticed something special about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like what?
Well, during some kind of Arabian festival, this pagan priest saw young Muhammad, and he just freaked out.
Really?
Yeah, he started warning people to kill him.
Him?
Yeah, like he was seriously afraid of Muhammad's potential power.
That's intense.
Yeah, and he thought Muhammad would bring about the downfall of their idols.
I mean, these priests had a lot of influence in society, right?
Oh, yeah, they were like the religious authorities interpreting omens and upholding the traditional beliefs.
Wow. So for a priest to react like that, it must have been a huge deal.
Yeah, Halima was terrified by this whole thing, so she quickly took Muhammad away from the crowd.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's just wild to think that this little kid was seen as a threat to the established religious order.
I know, right?
And that wasn't the only time it happened.
Really?
There was another time when a pagan priest visited Bani Saad, and he saw Muhammad, who was about 3 at the time, and he straight up declared him a prophet.
Wow.
It caused such chaos that he was driven out of the village.
Really?
Yeah, and according to the stories, he went mad after that.
That's crazy.
I know, right? It's like these encounters really show that some people were becoming aware that Muhammad was not your average kid.
Yeah, like there was something different about it.
Exactly. And then there's this account of a caravan of Jewish scholars who stopped in Bani Saad And they were, like, observing Muhammad really closely.
Like watching him?
Yeah, like intently watching him.
No.
And then they start having these hushed conversations amongst themselves.
Okay.
And then they ask Halima if he's an orphan.
Interesting.
And she's, like, super protective of him. So she says, no, he's my son.
Okay.
And they just go quiet.
Really?
But later, they quietly tell her that if he had been an orphan, they wouldn't have spared him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a chilling thought, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
And this whole incident just made Halima even more determined to protect Muhammad from any potential danger.
Yeah, I can see why.
It's fascinating how different religious figures seem to have their own interpretations and concerns about him, right? It's like they all sensed something but weren't quite sure what it was.
Right.
But maybe the most important and definitely the most incredible event that happened while he was with Halima was the chest opening incident.
The chest opening incident? What's that?
So Muhammad was about 4 years old, and he's playing with his siblings.
Okay.
When his foster brother runs back to Halima, and Abu Kabsha just terrified.
Oh, no.
He's saying that he saw these two big, white, man-like birds.
What?
Yeah, and that they opened Muhammad's chest and that it was lying on the hillside and not moving.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so Halima and Abu Kabsha, they rush over there.
Of course.
And they find Muhammad standing there looking a little worried but staring up at the sky.
Wow.
And then he tells them about this crazy experience.
Okay.
He describes these two large white birds coming down from the sky, one of them carrying an emerald bowl.
An emerald bowl?
Yeah, an emerald bowl full of this ice-cold and fragrant water.
Wow.
He said they opened his chest, took something out of it, washed it with this water, put it back in, and then sewed his chest back up.
This is amazing.
I know, right?
It sounds so surreal.
And one of the beings kissed him on his head and between his eyes and told him not to be afraid and that he had a great future ahead of him.
That's incredible.
And he even offered to show them where the birds went back up into the sky.
Wow.
You can imagine how this affected Halima and Abu Kabsha.
I bet they were stunned.
Oh, yeah. It was so extraordinary. So beyond anything they could understand, that it became the main reason why they decided to return Muhammad to his mother in Mecca for good.
Really, even though Halima loved him so much.
Yeah, and even though their household had been blessed ever since he came to live with them.
That's a big decision.
It was, but it just seemed to them like something huge had happened, something that they might not be able to fully grasp or protect him from.
I can understand that.
And even after this incredible event, the unusual things kept happening.
Oh, really? Like what?
It's said that a beautiful and unique fragrance came from Muhammad everywhere he went.
Wow.
It's like this just further solidified the idea that he was no ordinary child, that there's something really special about him.
Yeah, it's like a constant reminder.
Yeah, and the journey back to Mecca was eventful too.
What happened?
They encountered some Abyssinians who noticed that Muhammad had this distinct redness in his eyes.
Okay.
And they started talking amongst themselves in their own language. And Halima understood some of it.
Oh, wow.
And she realized they were saying that he was a prophet.
Really?
And that they wanted to take him to their king in hopes of getting a reward. Yeah, this made Halima even more careful and determined to protect him.
Of course.
So they finally reached the outskirts of Mecca.
Okay.
And the most bizarre and scary thing happened.
What happened?
Halima put Muhammad down just for a second. And in that short time, he vanished. He completely disappeared.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine the panic?
I can't even imagine.
They started searching everywhere.
Of course.
And during this frantic search, they run into this old, frail man.
Okay.
And he tells them that their main idol, Hubal, would reveal Muhammad's location.
Really?
But Halima had seen so many extraordinary events.
Right.
Things that went against their traditional beliefs.
Yeah.
So she had lost faith in these idols.
That makes sense.
She basically tells the old man, "Are you kidding me? Don't you remember what happened to our idols the night Muhammad was born?"
Wow.
And right at that moment, the idol of Hubal falls flat on its face again.
Get out of here.
I know, it's like this powerful symbolic moment. It's like the old ways were being challenged.
Right.
So anyway, word of Muhammad's disappearance finally reached his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. And he was devastated.
I bet.
He immediately gathered some horsemen, and they started searching everywhere.
Wow.
And according to the historical accounts, they were guided by a voice with no body.
A voice with no body.
I know, crazy, right?
That's wild.
Which led them to Muhammad,
Okay.
who they found safe and sound under a tree in the mountains of Tahama.
Wow.
And get this, the tree had bent its branches down towards him.
Really?
Like it was showing him respect or protecting him.
That's incredible.
When Abdul Muttalib found his grandson, it was super emotional. He hugged Muhammad and cried tears of relief and joy.
That's beautiful.
And he brought him back to Mecca in this huge celebration. They even sacrificed animals as a way of thanking God for his safe return.
Wow.
And then he gave Muhammad back to his mother, Amina.
So before Halima left Mecca, did she tell Abdul Muttalib about everything that happened?
She did. She told him all about the incredible events and blessings that she had witnessed during those years.
What did he think about all of that?
Well, he recognized the unusual signs and wonders, and it just confirmed his belief that Muhammad was destined for greatness.
Wow.
And he said goodbye to Halima with so much gratitude for taking care of his grandson.
That's amazing.
It's clear that Halima truly loved Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
You can see it in the historical accounts, her constant protection of him, and even the beautiful lullaby she sang for him.
Really?
Yeah, it's remembered for its beauty and how eloquently it expressed her hopes for his long life and future greatness.
Wow.
And even years later, her own son, Abdullah, who grew up with the Prophet as his foster brother,
Right.
he embraced Islam and stayed very close to him.
That's a testament to the bond they shared.
Yeah, and the Prophet never forgot his time with the people of Banu Sa'd and his foster mother, Halima.
It sounds like those early years really left a mark on him.
They did. He often talked about how their pure and eloquent Arabic influenced his own speech. Wow, that's incredible.
And there's this really touching story about an elderly Halima visiting him during his prophethood.
Okay.
He stood up to greet her with so much respect, spread his own cloak on the ground for her to sit on.
Wow.
And both he and his wife Khadija were incredibly generous to her when a famine hit her land.
That's beautiful.
It just shows the importance of those early relationships and the value he placed on gratitude.
Absolutely.
So after returning to Mecca, Muhammad lived with his mother Amina until he was about 6.
Okay.
And even though it was a shorter period, it was still a really important part of his life.
What happened during that time?
Well, Amina decided to take Muhammad on a journey to Medina.
Medina.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of that trip?
It was for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
First, to visit the grave of his father Abdullah, who had died before he was born.
Right.
And second, to introduce young Muhammad to his maternal relatives who lived in Medina.
Makes sense.
And Abdul Muttalib and Ayman went with them.
Who's Ayman?
Ayman was Amina's loyal Abyssinian maidservant.
Oh, God. They spent about a month in Medina.
Okay.
And this time really stayed with Muhammad.
Really?
Yeah. Later in life, he would talk about this trip with a lot of fondness.
That's nice.
He even hinted that he was fulfilling prophecies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he referred to himself as the prayer of Abraham,
Wow.
the glad tidings brought by Jesus.
Huh.
And he remembered his mother's dream of a radiant light coming from her body that lit up the palaces of Syria.
That's powerful imagery.
Yeah, all of these were like hints at his future prophethood.
It's amazing how clearly he remembered details from that trip even decades later.
It is, right?
So what did he remember?
Well, he talked about seeing the fort of the Banu Adi bin Najjar, the house where they stayed,
Uh-huh.
a specific place where he loved playing with this Ansari girl named Nisa.
Oh.
They would fly sparrows that would land on a palace nearby.
That's so
And he even remembered the spot where he learned to swim.
Wow. It's like getting these little glimpses into his childhood.
It is, yeah.
So it sounds like even in Medina, people were picking up on something special about Muhammad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like what kind of things happened?
Well, there was one time when this Jewish man was staring at Muhammad really intensely,
Yeah.
and then he just mutters to the people around him, "This is a prophet."
Wow.
And he even told Amina what he thought.
Really?
Yeah, which obviously made her a bit worried.
Of course.
And then another time, these 2 super respected Jewish scholars recognized him, hugged and kissed him,
Wow.
and confirmed that he was the promised prophet they had been waiting for.
Really?
Yeah, and they even predicted that he would return to Medina one day and that big things would happen there.
That's incredible.
It's like all these signs and recognitions from people who are known for their knowledge.
Yeah.
They just add to this feeling that Muhammad was destined for something great.
It's like his path was already being laid out.
Exactly.
So they eventually had to leave Medina and head back to Mecca.
Right, but the journey back took a really tragic turn.
Oof.
Just a short distance outside Medina in a place called Abwa.
Mm-hmm.
Amina got sick,
Oh, no.
and she passed away.
Oh, that's so sad.
It was leaving 6-year-old Muhammad an orphan for the second time in his young life.
That's heartbreaking to think about.
It is such a sad moment.
Yeah.
Years later, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, passed by Abwa, he made sure to visit his mother's grave. He cleaned the area himself,
Wow.
And then he wept so deeply that his companions started crying too, just out of sympathy and understanding of his grief.
It's like the pain of that early loss never really left him.
Yeah, it stayed with him.
We even have this really poignant detail from Samaha's mother, who saw Amina pass away.
Really?
Yeah, with young Muhammad right there beside her.
Wow.
She described how Amina looked at her son with tears in her eyes in her final moments.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is.
So in this deep dive into the early childhood of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him,
Yes.
we've uncovered so many incredible events,
It's true.
divine blessings, and profound personal losses.
Absolutely.
It's been a journey.
It has.
And we hope that by exploring these detailed accounts and traditions together, you've gained a deeper understanding and a greater appreciation for the remarkable and often challenging early years of his life.
I think what's really striking is just how many signs there were and recognitions of his prophethood from such a young age.
Right.
And the way these incredible blessings are interwoven with these early experiences of loss.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how these unique and formative early experiences shaped him.
Yeah.
How they affected his character, his understanding of the world, and ultimately how they prepared him for the immense and transformative role he's destined to play.
It's a really powerful question.
It is. It's something to really think about as you continue to explore the deeper meaning and significance of these crucial early years.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great place to leave it for today.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And until next time, peace be upon you.
And upon you be peace.